Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're not just following some guide, we're going to be architects. We're going to build a digital fortress completely from the ground up using Microsoft Azure Firewall as our stone and our mortar. Okay, so let's kick things off by looking at the blueprint. This right here is our end goal. You see that critical server? That's our treasure, and it's sitting safely inside a virtual network. All traffic, whether it's going in or out, is forced through one single intelligent checkpoint. That's the Azure Firewall. This is the fortress we're about to build.
All right, so you know how it is. Every great fortress needs a solid foundation. Before we can even think about building the walls, we have to prepare the ground. So this first phase is all about laying that digital groundwork. Our very first step is to stake our claim, and we do that by creating a resource group. Think of it kind of like the deed to our plot of land. It's really just a logical container that's going to hold every single piece of our fortress. The network, the server, the firewall itself. It just keeps everything neat and tidy.
So, with our land secured, we draw the outer boundaries by creating a virtual network. Now, inside, we're going to carve out two distinct zones. The first one, Workload SN, well, that's where our valuable server is going to live. The second one is a special, dedicated area just for our gatehouse, and this is super important. It must be named Azure Firewall Subnet. Azure actually requires this exact name to deploy the firewall correctly.
Okay, now it's time to put the treasure inside the perimeter. We're deploying a virtual machine we'll call SRV-work. You can think of this server as our crown jewel. It's the critical application or the sensitive data that our entire fortress is being designed to protect.
All right, the foundation is in place, and our precious asset is inside. It's time for the main event, building the most important part of our defense, the fortress walls themselves. And here it is, the heart of our defense, the Azure Firewall. We're deploying our own instance, Test FW01. Now, this isn't just some passive brick wall, it's an intelligent gatehouse. It gets a public IP address, so it can face the Wild West of the internet, and a private IP address to act as the single point of control for all the traffic inside our network.
So here's the crucial point. Just building the walls, well, that isn't enough. If there are other ways out, our server could just bypass the firewall completely. We have to make sure there are absolutely no secret backroads. And this is how we seal off those backroads. We create something called a route table. You can think of this as putting up a single giant signpost for our server. It has one very simple, very powerful rule. Any traffic trying to leave for the internet, and that's what that 0.0.0.0/0 means, must go through our firewall's private address first. Period. There is no other path.
Our fortress is up and we're forcing all the traffic to flow right through the main gatehouse. But, well, right now, the gatehouse has no instructions. Our guards are just kind of standing there. We need to give them a clear set of rules on what to allow and what to block.
So we basically have three distinct tools to program our guards. First up, application rules. These are like a list of approved destinations, by name, like google.com. Second, we have network rules. These are a bit more fundamental, dealing with specific IP addresses and port numbers. And finally, there are DNAT rules, which are our way of creating secure, controlled entrances for us, the administrators.
Let's start with an application rule. We'll create one called Allow Google, and this is super precise. It allows web traffic only to google.com. Now, what's really powerful here is that by default, Azure Firewall blocks everything. So by creating this one allow rule, we are implicitly denying access to every other website on the internet. That is security by default.
But hang on a second. How does our server find Google in the first place? It needs a digital phone book, right? It needs DNS. So we have to create a network rule. This allows the server to send out DNS queries, which use UDP on port 53 to trusted DNS servers we specify. Without this, our allow Google rule would be totally useless. And finally, a fortress needs a secure way for its commanders to get in. We'll create a DNAT rule to build a secure admin door. It basically tells the firewall, hey, if you see any remote desktop traffic coming in at your public gate on port 3389, I want you to translate that and send it directly to our private server. This lets us manage the machine without ever exposing it directly to the internet. It's brilliant.
All right, the moment of truth. The fortress is built, the traffic is being routed, and the rules are all programmed. All that's left is to run the final inspection. Let's see if our defenses actually work the way we planned.
Okay, time to test our defenses. We're going to approach from the outside.
just like an administrator would. We'll open up our remote desktop client and connect directly to the firewall's public IP address, testing that secure admin door we just built with our DNAT role.
And success! It worked. Once we're inside the server, we can test our rules. We can get to google.com perfectly, our application rule is working, but then when we try any other site like microsoft.com, nope, we're blocked. Our firewall is doing its job, denying everything we didn't explicitly permit. This is exactly what we wanted to see. And there you have it. Our fortress is complete. We started with the blueprint, we laid the digital foundation, we erected the firewall, programmed its guards with very precise rules, and then we ran the final test. Our asset is now secure.
We've just built a really powerful digital fortress in the cloud, and that's a fundamental skill for anyone with assets to protect online. The blueprints are now yours. So the only question is, what are you going to protect with them?
This section of lab will go through deploy and configure Azure Firewall using the Azure Portal. Um, you will get this link into description section. If you have any question, definitely you can ask me. I'll respond as soon as possible. So here in this lab, what we're going to do, first we'll create a resource group. You can see that resource group. Then we'll create a virtual network, and underneath subnet, workload subnet and Azure Firewall subnet. Then we'll create a virtual machine. And you can see that there is a virtual machines here. Then deploy a firewall and firewall policy. Then we will create a default route. Then configure an application rule after that. Configure a destination rule also, net rule also, destination net, which is DNAT. Then configure the primary and secondary DNS addresses for server's network and interface. Then we will do the test the firewall. So firewall is a network security features that sits between a trusted network and an untrusted network, like such as internet, which is open. The firewall's job is to analyze and then allow or deny network traffic. It's a cloud-based firewall service. In most configuration, Azure Firewalls is provisions inside a hub network. I have another like video tutorial where I explained hub and spoke. You can check that one. Traffic to and from the spoke virtual network and the on-premises network is directed to the firewall. And Azure Firewall has three types of rules actually. That is application. First one is application, then network, and then net. So let's start the lab now. So the very first one in our lab is to go through. Let me open that page again. Bring this page this side. So create a resource group. So here, click on go to home, and then you can see that resource groups option. If you don't see here, you can search here. So click on resource groups, then click on create, and here we are going to pass a resource group name, select a region, and then click on review plus create. When validation passed, click on create. We can see that resource group is created now. Next task is we are going to create a virtual network and subnets. So for that, you can search for a virtual network. Click virtual network. Then click on create. Select the resource group that we created. And then you see that we need to give a virtual network name, VNet name. So give a VNet name. Select the region. Click next. Security for now, and we are just taking all the defaults value. Click next. In IP address 10.0.0.0/16 is fine for our IP address range. Then here the default subnet, click that edit options. Then it will pop up window here. So here you can see that subnet purpose. If we select the Azure Firewall, you can see that change name to Azure Firewall subnet. Otherwise, if you put that name here, ultimately it will select that Azure Firewall. And starting address, we are changing that to 10.0.1.0/26. When that is done, click on save. Now we are going to add a subnet, so click on add subnet. And here change name that to workload subnet. We are changing the starting address 10.0.2.0/24. Then click on add. Now we got two subnets under this VNet. Click on review plus create. Validation passed. Click on create to create this VNet. Can refresh the page. Can go to resource, and under settings we can click on subnets, and we can see those two subnets under this VNet is created. So now next task, we are going to create the workload virtual machines and place those into workload subnet that we created. So now here search for, no, we are going to do that task through Cloud Shell. So for that, click on that Cloud Shell icon. It will prompt for which type of Cloud Shell. Click that PowerShell in our lab perspective. No storage account required. We need to select the subscription. Then click apply. So it will open a terminal session for PowerShell. So now clear this screen. Now we need to upload scripts to deploy uh, VM. So under manage file, click that option or expand that option, select the upload options and go to all files, exercise M06, and you can see that firewall.json and firewall.parameter.json file. Click open. You can see that successfully uploaded two files. Close that option button, and we can see those two files here now. Now we'll deploy ARM template to create the VMs that needed for this exercise. So let's copy paste or type the command. So we are giving the resource group name that we created, and then here deployment resource group name is getting from here, and the template file that we have uploaded. So press enter. Give admin password, so it's always better to note that one. Otherwise, it's sometimes you can paste, but it is not working for a long. Yamuna Maluti 890. Press enter. So let me back when that is ready. So you can see that VM SRB work is created now. Let's go back to portal and search for VM virtual machine. And if you see that virtual machine is created. So now click the virtual machine. And if you check here, networking section, uh, and we can see that private IP address. Let's copy this IP address. We may need this one later on. This is private one. So next task, we are going to deploy in the firewall and firewall policy. So for that, into search options or section, search for firewall. Click firewalls. So firewall space, you select the create button. Now here, give it or select the resource group. Give a firewall name. Select region. And for firewall SQ, we are going to select standard one. And firewall management section, we will select use firewall rules. No, policy is fine. Use firewall policy to manage this firewall for our lab. And then firewall policy, select that add new, give a name, policy firewall policy name, and select the region, and then click OK. Then we got choose a virtual network. So click on use existing and select the virtual network or VNet that we created, which is test firewall VNet. First signing is required for have a subnet name. This is something new. I did not see this before. Okay, public IP address. We are not setting anything. So, oh, because we got this down below. Let me disable that firewall management nick. Now you can see that's good. So, public IP address. So we have to select a public IP address. So public IP address, click add new, and then give a public IP address name, and then click OK. So now select and review all the settings that we have selected, and then click uh, next tags. We are not adding any tags for our lab perspective. Now click on review plus create. Validation pass, select on create to create a firewall. So deployment is complete. Click go to resource. So you can see the firewall deployment is done. Now here, in overview page, check for different options here. the options you're looking is private IP for this firewall. Let me copy this one, put a note. So firewall private IP, this, and on the left side select settings and select that one. I can see that public IP configuration. Click that public IP configuration, and this is the firewall PIP public IP, and let note this one, which is firewall PIP. Okay. Now if we check other options, private IP, we got the public IP, and then if you go to the IP configurations, if we check that firewall public IP, if we can see that it is getting that IP address. So that is okay. We are not changing anything. So just click on close button. Next task, we are going to create a default route. And to set that up, let's go back to Subnet. Click on virtual network. Click Subnets. Otherwise, other option that we can do, create a route first, and then we can select that option. So let's go to route now. Select the route tables. To create a route table, click on create. Select the subscription, select the resource group. Region, we are fine with East US, and we are giving a route table name. Let's give this firewall route table and then click on review plus create. When validation is done, click on create tab. So deployment succeeded. Refresh this page, and you can see that the click on this go to resource. So when you are on route table page, expand that settings window and select that subnet. And you can see that associate option. So click on associate. And the virtual network that we have created, we are going to associate that one. So select this VNet and also the subnet, which is word clock subnet in our case. And then click on OK. So it saved route table for subnet. Now under settings, select routes and then click on add. Here we need to give a route name. Destination type is prefix type, and next hop style we have to select virtual appliance. And here that prefix type, select that IP addresses and pass the IP address range here. So in your case, we are just setting everything's open. And next hop type, we put virtual appliance. And next hop address here, we need to enter the private IP address for the firewall. So private IP address for the firewall is this one. And then click on add. So rule is added now. Next task, we are going to configure an application rule. So for that, let's go to all resource section. And then select the firewall policy. Then on your left side, expand the rules option and select that application rules. Then here is the option like add a rule collection. Select that one. And add a rule collection page. First thing, name. We need to give a name for this rules collection. Then what type of rule collection is this one? That is applications. Priority, give a number. Rule collection action is allow. Rule collection group is default application rule collection group. So you can see that three options there. Application rule collection group, default network rule collection group, default DNAT rule collection group. Then down below, here rule selection, select a name or give a name here. Source type is IP address and source, give the source IP address here. Then protocol type or which type of protocol. In our case, that is HTTP and HTTPS. And destination type is fully qualified domain name. And we are going google.com, www.google.com. And after that, select add. So let's refresh the page. And we can see that application rule is created. Now we are going to configure a network rule. So when you are in firewall policy page, so under rules, this time we are going to select network rules. Click add a rule collection. Then give a rule collection name. You can see this is network. So give that priority is 200. Rule collection action is allow. Then rule collection group, this is network group. So default network rule collection group. Under rule selections, give a name. Source type is IP address. Give the source IP. Select the protocol. This protocol is user defined protocol. Destination port is 53. Destination type is IP address. And here keep two public IP address, and these two public IP DNS serves separately by Century link. Then click on add. So it's adding network rules collection. So network rule is configured. Now we are going to configure a destination NAT rule. So for that, select DNAT rules and click add a rule connection. And give a rule connection name. Rule collection type is DNAT. Allowed between, that is also fine, priority. Then there is a rule collection group. So this will be default DNAT rules connection. So now here it's coming that we have to give a value. So that is 200 priority. You can do that beforehand also. It's nothing that after. So give a name here under rule selection, that RDPNet. Source type is IP address. Source is everything's. Protocol, we are selecting TCP protocol. Port is 3389. Destination type is IP address. And we have to use firewall public IP address here. And here is the translate type. We have to use here private IP for our subnet that we have used. Did I work on that one? This is the one, but like virtual machine IP address, private IP address. So copy that one. And port is 3389. And then click on add. Get a destination NAT rule here. So now we will change the primary and secondary DNS address for the server's network interface. So for that, let's go to resource group and check for that oh, the test firewall resource group. Click that one. And here select the network interface for the virtual machine. So let's go to virtual machines. And you see that subnet. If you go to network section, we can see that subnet. But we can get that information from network interface from that main page itself. Let's go back here. And select this network interface here. So select that one. And under the settings, select that DNS servers. And here you can see the two options there, inherit from the virtual network or custom. Select that custom options. And when you see that custom options, then you can see that add DNS server. So select enter the IP address. And second one, add 03, this will be 04, and then click save. Primary and secondary DNS servers. Now restart the virtual machine. So let's go to resource group and open the virtual machine. And here you can see the restart option. So select that restart. So it's going to restart this virtual machine. Select yes. So we have restarted our virtual machines. So now next task to will test the firewall to verify that the rule are configured correctly and working as expected. So for that, let's connect to these virtual machines. So what you have to do, you will do a remote desktop connection. So search for remote desktop connection here, RDP. Click yes. And this is the public IP address for our firewall. And RDP port is 3389. So click connect. Our user is test users and we need to give a password. So which is first thing is double up. Yep. So let me type then. Click OK. Click yes. Now click that Microsoft is and type here google.com. And we can see that we are able to go to this website. Now in second tab and click on microsoft.com. And we can see that deny region, no rule matched. So we have successfully completed our labs. It's always good practice to stop or delete all the resources to avoid all the incurred costs. So that's it for this lab. If you have any questions, add that into comment sections. Otherwise, see you into next lab.